Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, welcome to the online class. Today we are going to start from the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You people had studied it several times. It start from FSC and then you also studied in BSc classes. In the first few pages, we have to repeat that the basic level of the uncertainty principle. Then we will go to the general development of uncertainty principle, or you can say to the proof of uncertainty principle. I got some request, I think, yeah. जो दूसरे उससे आना चाहते हैं सो मेहरबानी करें वो टाइम पे आए फिर, क्योंकि फिर मुझे क्लास से वापस वहाँ पे जाना पड़ता है, सो इट्स डिफिकल्ट फॉर मी. Okay, now the uncertainty principle states that it is not possible to determine precisely and simultaneously the position and momentum of the electron. This is just the statement which says that you cannot measure precisely and simultaneously. यानी आप एक साथ दोनों को measure नहीं कर सकते. या तो आप position को मालूम करेंगे, you will not be certain about the momentum. Either you will find the momentum accurately, but you will not certain about the position of the electron. Because an electron in motion is associated with a wave lambda that is given by de Broglie relation, and that can be considered as a wave packet of small extensions formed by superposition of large number of waves of wavelengths. Those wavelengths are slightly different from the wavelengths of the associated wave. So it's mean that there is a wave associated with the electron, and that wave is actually the combination of a large number of waves. Since a wave packet is a finite width, there will be uncertainty in specifying the position of the electron. So the uncertainty principle states for a particle of atomic magnitude, so the particle will be of atomic magnitude, mean that this principle holds for smaller size particles in motion. It is impossible to determine both the position and the momentum simultaneously with perfect accuracy. Quantitatively, we can write delta x dot delta px, where px means that the momentum component in along the x-axis that is greater or equal to h cut. Now, what is the value of h cut? It is given there. You already know it. And this symbol stands for is of the order of r greater than, that is greater than or equal to h cut. So this is the main definition of uncertainty principle. Similarly, you can write for delta y dot delta py, you can write for delta z dot delta pz in the same manner, and in 3 dimensions it will become as delta r dot delta p is equal or greater to h cut. Here is a small question. You have to check it, that is it possible that delta x dot delta py mean you are taking the position along x-axis while you are taking the momentum along y-axis. So this relation holds or not? So the answer is not, but you have to search it, that why it's not holding. It's very simple, so do it, you will find the solution. If not, then let me know. The minimum value of the product of uncertainties is given by, this is the minimum value, that is delta x dot delta px is equal to h cut by 2. When we place h cut by 2, so this is the minimum value. However, in solving problem, we use the value of delta x dot delta px equal to h cut, which is taken in solving the problems. The root means square deviation from mean value, that is the h cut by 2. Now let's prove it. This proof is basically the proof you have done in your BSc classes. So it's the same, that how you will prove the relation for uncertainty. Suppose a particle is moving along x-axis, then by de Broglie relation, the wavelength lambda is equal to h by px, along x-axis, or you can write px is equal to h by lambda. Now we are going to divide and multiply this relation by 2 pi. So h by 2 pi dot 2 pi by lambda. So the first relation h by 2 pi is equal to h cut, while 2 pi by lambda is equal to k. So p of x is equal to h cut k, where k is known as the propagation constant. Now the particle is in motion. And motion is represented by a wave packet formed by the superposition of a number of waves of wavelength different from lambda. Mean the wavelength of individual waves in the wave packet are different from this wavelength. Now what we do, we consider a wave packet formed by two simple harmonic plane waves of propagation constant k and k plus delta k. So it means that there are two waves, two plane harmonic waves. One has a propagation constant of k, while the other has a propagation constant of k plus delta k. Mean its propagation constant is a little bit higher than the first one. So the length of the wave packet is given by length, mean the distance delta x, which is 2 pi divided by delta k. Delta k is the corresponding uncertainty in the propagation constant, while delta x equal to uncertainty in position. You already know it. Here you can see in the figure, the first wave has a lambda 1 which is equal to 2 pi by k, while the second lambda 2 is 2 pi divided by k plus delta k. And here you can see that the number of wavelengths are greater in the second waves than the number of wavelengths in the first one. And the resultant wave is shown here below, where you can see that some of the amplitude are multiplied, or you can say enhanced, while some are have smaller values than the two waves individually. So what happened? Equation 1, delta px is equal to h delta k. So multiplying equation 2 by 3 now. So delta x dot delta px will be equal to 2 pi by delta k into h cut delta k. Delta k cancel one another, and you get 2 pi h cut. While h cut is equal to h by 2 pi, so 2 pi cancel, and you get only h. If a wave packet is so regular in shape, then that is equal, the symbol, the equal symbol is replaced by greater or less than. So here you can see that we got only equal symbol, and we can replace this by the greater or equal symbol, or in the words of the order of symbol. For what? If a wave packet is so regular in shape, then we can replace it. By Fourier transformation, also, superposition of two plane wave gave rise to series of wave packets instead of a single wave packet. This is the definition by Fourier transformation. You already studied it. Here delta x is greater or equal to 1 over delta k is the equation 5 from the equation first. Then multiplying equation 3 by this 5, you will get delta x dot delta px is greater or equal to h cut directly. So this was the relation that delta x delta px is greater or equal to h cut, or you can say this is the proof by taking just two plane waves, and you can find out the value of the uncertainty in the position and momentum relation. Similarly, you can do it by yourself for delta E dot delta t equal or greater to h cut. So you have to do it because I already told you that this is from your initial classes. So I just repeated that. Now, what is the physical significance of uncertainty relation? Uncertainty relation is too important. It tells you that you cannot measure two values simultaneously. For example, if you want to find the position of an electron or a particle, then you need to move with that particle along the direction of motion with the same momentum. If you are moving with the same momentum, you cannot measure the momentum, but you can measure only the position. Similarly, if you want to find the momentum, then obviously you have to stand somewhere then you cannot measure exact position of the particle, but you can measure only the momentum of the particle. Now, what is its physical significance? This is important. Number one, if the position coordinate x of a particle in motion is accurately determined at some instant, then at the same instant, delta px is in the determination of the motion becomes infinite. And this is true. What it means that if you can measure the position accurately, then obviously delta x will be equal to 0. The change in position will be 0 because you have measured the accurate position. And then you cannot measure the change in momentum because the change in momentum will become infinite. For example, look at the relation delta x dot delta p. If you put delta x equal to 0 in that relation, so it means that it's cut divided by 0, which is equal to infinity. Similarly, in 2, if delta px is 0, then delta x is infinite in the same manner. We can measure both the quantities by means of an experiment, but only within certain limits of accuracy specified by the uncertainty relationship. 3. For a particle of mass m moving with velocity v, the product of the uncertainty delta x and the uncertainty delta v in the velocity is given by delta x dot delta v is greater or equal to h cut by m. Simply just put the value of p here. The value of p is delta v divided into m because p is equal to mv. So if it is delta p, then obviously it will be m delta v. So you will get this relation for a heavy particle. H cut by m is very small. Obviously, H cut has a very smaller value. You can see that h is equal to 6 into 6 point something into 10 power minus 34 joule second. So that is very smaller value. Then the value of h cut becomes more smaller because you divide that value by 2 pi, so it becomes further smaller. Now look at this relation h cut by m. If you are putting the value of m and m is small, then it's okay. But if m is larger, for example, for heavy particle, the m becomes larger. So delta x dot delta v is very small. And according to this relation, because this shows that delta x delta v is greater or equal to. So for such particle, both the position and velocity can be determined accurately. That is, h cut divided by m will be equal to 0. It means that if we are taking heavy particles having greater mass, then the relation h cut by m is approximately equal to 0, and you can find both the position and velocity of the particle. So the uncertainties vanishes and all quantities can be determined accurately. This is the limiting case of classical mechanics. Obviously, as I told you earlier, that uncertainty relationship hold for atomic or subatomic particles. So it's mean that for classical particles, it does not hold, and why we called it the limit of it. Thus, classical mechanics is true for heavy bodies, and the uncertainties are the characteristic of quantum mechanics. That is, it is applicable to light particles. So always keep it in mind that uncertainty relationship hold only for small size particles, not for classical objects. So these are the significance of the uncertainty. Number one, the significance shows, number one, that this holds for small particle, not large or big particles. Number two, that if we are sure to find one thing, that is position or momentum, then the other one, then the change in the other one becomes infinite. So here is the significance of the uncertainty relationship. Now, this up to now what we have studied, it was just for understanding purposes, that you people have to learn it from the basics of physics, or you can say quantum mechanics. Here is now the proof of uncertainty principle, that how you will prove the relationship. So sometimes in paper, if you look to the old papers, so you will have that find the relation for the uncertainty principle. then obviously you have to start from here. Sometime this relation is given that you are asked that show that this equal to this thing, then obviously you have to do this process. There are many methods, but we use the root mean square deviation, that is standard deviation, which is more analytical. Some other methods are also available, you can find them. But what we do, we are using the root mean square deviation method, which is also known as the standard deviation method. And according to standard deviation, the uncertainty in A is given by, that is delta A is equal to uh, uh, the average symbol you can see on left and right, and then A minus A average whole square, and the whole is under the root because this is actually delta A square, but we have written it as a delta A, so the square transfers here by square root. So squaring both sides, it can be written as delta A square, and this open this whole square value, so A square plus A average square minus 2A into A average. Or in other words, you can say that that is A square average minus A average whole square. How you get that? Because you can see here that average of 2A and average A is equal to, just like replacing A by X, that average of 2X into double average of X. The double average of X can be written as the average of X, and 2 is a scalar quantity, so it comes out. So here it is average of X multiplied by average of X, and we can write is as X average whole square. So that's why we got the relation B. Similarly, now this that was written generally for A, you can write it for position X. Delta X whole square will be equal to X square average minus X average whole square 1. Similarly, for momentum, you can write the same as equation 2. Now let us define an operator P such that what we do, we take an operator P. P is equal to A plus iota lambda B. So it's a linear combination of A and B, which can be written as A plus iota lambda into B. Lambda is the, you can see in the linear combination, it is, for example, if you are getting some value, obviously you have to put it such as AX plus lambda, you can see Y plus lambda square Z and so on. So you now just take a steric on it. So P steric will be equal to A minus iota lambda B. And we know that P dot P steric average is greater or equal to 0. So what we do now, we are putting the value of P and P steric in this relation because it holds and it gives you positive value. Simply you can do that by multiplying it. You will get a greater value, that is it will be greater than 0 or equal to 0. So now putting the value of P and P steric, and then what we do, multiply it, A with A first, and then A with minus iota lambda B, and then plus iota lambda B with A, and then plus iota lambda B with minus iota lambda B. So you will get A square plus iota lambda BA minus AB plus lambda square B square. Or now the whole value is under average, so you can separate them. Here A square is in average now plus lambda square, because lambda is constant. So B square in average plus iota lambda, and then BA minus AB. Here the left hand side is a function of lambda, so we can write, if you look at it, there is no lambda with the A square, there is a lambda square here, and there is a lambda here. So it's a relation in lambda, that's why we called it as a function of lambda. So we can write f of lambda is equal to A square average plus lambda square into B square average plus iota lambda into BA minus AB, and that is greater or equal to 0. To calculate the minimum value of lambda, we are taking the differentiable. Already you people know it, that how we can get the minimum value or maximum value. For that we have to take the differentiation of this function. So first we are going to find the minimum value, and what we do, we start just differentiation, that is a prime lambda will be equal to, so here it is there is no lambda with A, So this term gives you nothing and it will become 0. And there is lambda square with the b square average. So it will become as 2 lambda into b square plus here it is lambda. So it will become as iota into BA minus AB average. Now, you got equation 4 and we know that for maximum value, the differentiation just gives us the minimum value, and then for maximum value we have to equate the differentiation equal to 0. If a prime lambda equal to 0, that it means that we are getting the maximum value. So equating it to 0, equation 4 becomes as that this value is equal to 0. If this value is equal to 0, then rearrange it, taking plus iota BA minus AB average on the other hand side. So it will become as minus lambda. Find the value of lambda from it. So lambda will be equal to iota into AB minus BA average divided by 2 average B square average. That is equation number 6 now. So we got the value of lambda here. To check whether f of lambda is minimum for the above value or not, we take second derivative of equation 4. For example, in equation 4, you can see that we find f of prime and we said that this is the minimum value. Now we want to check it that whether it is the minimum value or not. So what we have to do, we have to take the second differentiation. So differentiating it again, here is no lambda with the second term in equation 4. You can see here only lambda is here, that is 2 lambda into b square average. So it will become as you can see here, it will become as 2 into b square average. So function is minimum for the above value. Putting the value of lambda in equation 3, we get equation 3 is just the definition of that what we have done. Here it is. You can see that this is equation 3, in which you have a square average plus lambda square into b square average plus iota lambda into b a minus ab average. So putting the value of lambda here in the second term and in the third term. Yeah, here there is no lambda with the a square average, so it will be as it is, plus here it is iota into ab minus ba average divided by 2 b square average whole square, because here it is lambda square and b square average, plus then iota into iota the value of lambda, and then ba minus ab is greater or equal to 0. Now simplify this relation. It's easy, not difficult. Iota square is equal to minus, so here it becomes minus, and ab minus ba, this is whole average whole square now, and divide by 2b square average, so it will become as 4 divided by b square average, and there is another square, but it cancels with the product term b square average. Here it is. So this term and that square cancels, and you are only left with the b square average here. Plus, similarly in this term, iota and iota are there. So iota and iota will become as minus, but here you have a b minus ba now, and here you have only ba minus ab. So you have to insert that minus inside one of it, and it will become as the same. This one, the ba minus ab will become as ab minus ba. So ab minus ba here and ab minus ba here, this will become as whole square and divided by 2b square. So now look at the second term and the third term. They are just like the same, but this one is divided by 4 and this one is divided by 2. And here it is minus and here it is plus. So 1 divided by 2 minus 1 divided by 4. Obviously you will get 1 divided by 4 from it. So the term will be ab minus ba whole square divided by 4 b square average, and that is greater or equal to 0. Now what we do, take this this one to the right hand side of this relation, and then multiply it with the b square average. So you will get a square average into b square average, which is greater or equal to minus ab minus ba whole square divided by 4. And this relation holds if A and B are Hermitian, because if A and B are not Hermitian, then obviously this relation will become zero. So this holds only if A and B are Hermitian. You know Hermitian by your previous studies in mathematical method are in matrices. Obviously, we have to do this Hermitian as well as some other terms we have to do in the coming classes. But for now, you have just to recall that what do you mean by Hermitian operator or Hermitian vector or Hermitian matrices. You have studied it already, so recall that. But this only because if it is not Hermitian, then AB minus BA becomes zero. We define a variance operator now. We got this relation 7, and now what we do, we have to define the variance operator. Also we called it deviation. Yesterday I told you already that delta A, the deviation or variance, is equal to A minus A average. And that is the deviation from the A average. So A is the maximum value, so the deviation in A will be A minus the average. Taking the Dagger, so delta A Dagger will be equal to A Dagger minus A average Dagger, or in other words, A Dagger is equal to A, and minus A average will be also the same because A and B are Hermitian. If a quantity, for example, if any X or Y or Z or momentum P or A or B, whatever it is, if that quantity is Hermitian, then the Dagger and the quantity will remain the same. Mean when you say that this thing is Hermitian, so it's mean that A will be equal to A Dagger. If A is Hermitian, then A is equal to A Dagger. That is one of the definition of Hermitian operator. So that's why we got the same value. Similarly, for delta B, you can write B minus average B, and then taking the Dagger, still you will get the same thing. And now you have two values, that is delta A into delta A Dagger, and you have delta B into delta B Dagger. And you can see that delta A has the same value as delta A Dagger. Similarly, delta B has the same value as delta B Dagger. So if you have same values for the delta A and delta A Dagger, this means that delta A is also Hermitian. Similarly, delta B is also Hermitian. Now, coming to equation 7 back and putting the values, now replacing the physical variables by variance operator in equation 7. And we are replacing A with delta A and B with delta B in this whole relation. So you will get a relation of delta A whole square average and delta B whole square average is greater or equal to delta A delta B minus delta B delta A whole square average, average whole square. So now putting the values of delta A square, because delta A square is equal to A minus A average whole square, and you have to open this relation and also take the average of it, because we are finding this term, the first one, that is delta A square average. So taking the average on both hand side, that is A minus A average whole square, and then opening this by square formula, you will only get this equal to delta A square, is because we have already defined it, and that the standard deviation is delta A whole square, which is equal to A minus A average whole square. Similarly, delta B square average is equal to delta B square. I think I got some. Nothing is here. Okay, so now we have the value of delta A whole square average, which is equal to delta A whole square, and we got the value of delta B whole square average, that is equal to delta B whole square. So putting these values in equation 8, you will get the same, that is delta A whole square into delta B whole square is greater or equal to this thing. This is the same as above. Now, what we have now, that already we know that delta A and delta B and B are Hermitian operators, so we can replace them by A and B, and we got equation 9. Also, this delta, this AB minus BA can be written in brackets, that is brackets comma B, because when you open this Poisson bracket, you will get obviously AB minus BA, a whole square, and 1/4 is always there. Also, you can take it because here it is minus, so we can take the modulus, and then we know that it has both the plus and minus quantities. Now, if A and B commute, so by commutation mean that if A and B commute, then the A dash B brackets will be equal to 0. So it's mean that AB is equal to BA. So if AB is equal to BA, then it's mean that both commute. When they commute, then this product is equal to 0. And if not, if they are not commuting, then this delta A square into delta B whole square is greater than 0, mean then you will have a positive value for it. Now, what we do, we are taking this relation, the equation 9. This is our main equation now. Equation 9, if you can see here. This is our main equation, and what we do, we are replacing now delta A with delta X and delta B with delta PX. Similarly, you can replace this delta A by delta E and delta B by delta T for the energy and time relationship. And here this is for the momentum and position relationship. So what we have to place these values in equation 9. Then we will get minus into x px minus px x whole square divided by h cut. What we have done here, we have just taken this, then this is equation 10, but we are going to find this left hand side, that is x px minus px x value. So what we do, we consider, let's take or consider this x px minus px x average and psi. So the putting the values now, x अपनी जगह पे आ गया, but we have px, so px की operator value iota h cut into partial by partial x है, plus similarly iota h cut into partial by partial, because there is a minus with this iota and this, so this becomes plus and here it becomes minus, and here it is, the x is on the left side, but here this differentiation is applicable on x and y. Now you can do it. There will be two terms now applying this one, and when you got two terms, so the one term with this one will cancel, and you are only left with the iota h cut into partial x by partial x into psi. Partial x by partial x mean 1, so you have iota h cut psi. So then this x px minus px x average psi is equal to iota h cut psi, or in other words, this x px is equal to iota h cut, because psi can be taken it out. So now you got the value of x comma px bracket is equal to iota h cut. So if you have this value now, so take this value and put it in the equation number 10. So here there you will have minus iota h cut whole square divided by 4. Now iota square, so minus minus 1, तो वो cancel हो जाएगा, and you will have only h cut square divided by 4. Here it is h cut square divided by 4, and on the left side you have delta x whole square and delta p whole square. So taking square root on both sides, you will have delta x into delta px is greater or equal to h cut by 2, and hence you have proved the uncertainty relationship. Similarly, I already told you that you can do it for the energy and momentum, and the value for the energy operator is iota h cut into partial by partial t. So take this value and repeat the same, that put in equation number 9, the value of delta A is delta E and the value of delta B is delta T, and then solve it again here, and you will get the value of the energy and time uncertainty relationship. So that was the proof of the uncertainty principle. Similarly, there is another uncertainty relationship, that is delta L dot delta pi, that is greater or equal to h cut. Now delta L mean the uncertainty angular momentum, and delta pi mean the uncertainty in the angular displacement. So this is the same as you are doing for momentum and position. Here it is for the angular momentum and angular displacement. So this relation also hold. We can do by operator value if we know the operator value of delta n and delta pi in angular momentum chapter. So we will do this relation in the angular momentum chapter as well. But here you can do it by yourself as well. So here what we do, the kinetic energy due to rotational motion is given by, this is the definition of the kinetic energy, E is equal to half I omega square. And taking as change in energy, so this will become as 1 by 2 into, this change means this is the delta. So here differentiate the right hand side and you will get 1 by 2 plus 2 omega into delta I omega, and that is equal to omega into delta L. So omega delta L is here and delta E is there. Now omega delta L is equal to delta E. That is one relation where L is the angular momentum, which is equal to iota I omega. I is the inertia. So the angular position pi of the particle at time t is given by, this is the definition of the angular position, that angular displacement is equal to omega t, or in other words, omega is defined as pi divided by t, or you can put as delta pi divided by omega equal to delta t. Now equation 2 and equation 1, you have two equation, so multiply equation 1 by 2, you will get w into delta L dot delta pi divided by w, and on the right hand side you will have delta E dot delta t. So already you know that delta E dot delta t is approximately equal to h cut, and here this w cancels and you are only left with the delta L dot delta pi. So this is the proof that delta is dot delta pi is equal or greater than h cut. So we have proved it again by just putting the value of the energy, kinetic energy, in terms of inertia and angular displacement and angular momentum. But what you have, you can do this relation, or you can prove this relation by the operator value as well. And what you have to do, you have to use the operator value of delta, the angular momentum, and you have to use the operator value of angular displacement. So we will do it inshallah there as well, because sometime you people are asking paper that prove this relation. So you can prove this relation by this way as well, that just simply define the energy relation in terms of moment of inertia, and then find the value of delta E, and similarly find the definition of the angular displacement or angular velocity, and then multiply these two equations, so you will get the uncertainty of energy and time relation. We already know the value of it, so this left hand side will be equal to or greater that value as well, and you will get this relation done. This was the uncertainty principle. We just developed that what are the definition, or what is the understanding of uncertainty relationship. Now what are its implications, so we will do it next. But what are its relation? So so far we have studied its three relation, that is one for the position and momentum, the other is for the angular momentum and angular position, the other is for the energy and time. So and also we use the analytical method to find a general relationship for the uncertainty relationship. So equation 9, or you can see here this one, after rearranging this delta A square delta B whole square is greater or equal to 1 by 4 into modulus average A and B in brackets whole square. You people are always asked like that prove this relation. So it's the same thing. If you people have to prove it, you can solve this. If you people are asked to find that relation, you have to solve it. This was the whole relation. Now what you have to do, you have to do it by yourself. Just do practice on it. It's easy, not difficult. Still, if you have any problem, then let me know tomorrow. I'll answer all your question if you have in mind. Today, if you have any question or query, so just come back and ask me now. G, any question? It means that there is no question. Okay, sir, thanks. No question for now, sir. Okay, just you have to do it and solve it. Oh, okay, someone is asking. Moiza Shah.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
Wassalam, जी।
सर इलेक्ट्रॉन जो है वो तो क्लासिकल पार्टिकल नहीं है ना, और पोजीशन और मोमेंटम दोनों तो क्लासिकल स्टेट को डिफाइन करते हैं। क्वांटम में
नहीं नहीं
तो हम वो
किसने
लेते
आपको
हैं।
कहा है कि पोजीशन और मोमेंटम क्लासिकल स्टेट को डिफाइन करते हैं?
सर वीडियो लेक्चर में देख रही थी।
नहीं 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 ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है। देखिए, पोजीशन और मोमेंटम आपके पास फिजिकल क्वांटिटीज है। ये मैंने बहुत तफसील से समझाया था, इफ यू रिमेम्बर। ये दोनों आपके पास फिजिकल क्वांटिटी है और आप फिजिकल क्वांटिटी मेजर कर सकते हैं इधर पार क्लासिकल पार्टिकल्स इधर पार क्वांटम मैकेनिकल पार्टिकल्स, दोनों के लिए कर सकते हैं। लेकिन उसके लिए सिर्फ यह है कि क्वांटम मैकेनिकल पार्टिकल से मुराद हमारी जो है वो ये है कि स्मॉलर साइज पार्टिकल के लिए या स्मॉलर ऑब्जेक्ट्स के लिए हम इसको साइमल्टेनियसली मेजर नहीं कर सकते। बात समझ आ रही है?
यस सर।
ये ऐसी बात नहीं है कि ये क्लासिकल है, ठीक है ना। ये हमारे पास फिजिकल क्वांटिटीज है, फिजिकल क्वांटिटीज जितने भी है आपके पास, ये नहीं जिसको आप मेजर कर सकते हैं, वो आप क्लासिकल के लिए भी कर सकते हैं, आप क्वांटम मैकेनिकल पार्टिकल्स के लिए भी कर सकते हैं। ऐसी कोई बात नहीं होती कि ये क्लासिकल है और ये क्वांटम मैकेनिकल है, ठीक है।
ठीक सर। सर और सिग्निफिकेंस वाला फाइल जरा खोल दिया।
जी जी, आप पूछो, मुझे याद है।
सर उसके एग्जाम्पल।
एग्जाम्पल से क्या मुराद है? सिग्निफिकेंस की तो तीन बातें हैं ना।
यस सर।
हाँ, एक यही है कि अगर आपके पास डेल्टा एक्स है, ठीक है ना, यानी अगर आप पोजीशन को एक्यूरेटली मेजर कर ले तो डेल्टा एक्स जीरो बन जाएगा।
यस सर।
इसका मतलब समझ आ रहा है? मतलब
यस
ये
सर।
हुआ कि जब आप पोजीशन मालूम कर ले एक पॉइंट पे तो फिर तो चेंज इन पोजीशन नहीं होगा ना।
यस सर।
तो जब चेंज इन पोजीशन जीरो हो जाए तो अनसर्टेनिटी रिलेशन को देखो नाउ, डेल्टा एक्स डॉट डेल्टा पी इक्वल टू एच कट, लेट सपोज। Now, what we will have, delta px will be equal to h cut by delta x. If delta x is zero, then h cut by zero, this becomes infinite.
Infinite, yes sir.
Yeah. So in the other way, for the delta px you can do. So these are the two terms. While the third says that this relation holds for quantum mechanical objects only. क्योंकि हमने क्या किया, हमने मोमेंटम की जगह पे mv की वैल्यू लगा दी,
Yes sir.
वेलोसिटी की, ठीक है ना। तो हमने अनसर्टेनिटी इन पोजीशन एंड वेलोसिटी का रिलेशन निकाला विच इज इक्वल टू एच कट बाय एम,
Yes
ठीक
sir.
है ना। अब एच कट बाय एम, एम क्या है आपके पास, मास है। एच
Yes
कट तो
sir.
हमारे पास बहुत स्मॉलर क्वांटिटी वैल्यू है ना। तो अगर हम क्लासिकल ऑब्जेक्ट ले ले तो उसका मास बढ़ जाएगा, तो जब आप ज्यादा मास लेंगे तो ये टर्म जीरो हो जाएगा,
Yes sir.
नेग्लिजिबल हो जाएगा ना। तो जब नेग्लिजिबल होगा आपके पास, देन द प्रोडक्ट विल बी इक्वल टू जीरो। और प्रोडक्ट जीरो का ये मतलब है कि ये अनसर्टेनिटी रिलेशन होल्ड नहीं करता उसके लिए,
ठीक सर।
ठीक है। तो अनसर्टेनिटी रिलेशन इज ओनली होल्डिंग फॉर द क्लासिकल सॉरी क्वांटम मैकेनिकल ऑब्जेक्ट्स, यानी इट इज द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ द क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स।
Yes sir.
समझ आ गई?
Yes sir.
हाँ,
ठीक सर, थैंक यू।
वेलकम जी। एनीवन एल्स? If you have any question in mind, so please ask. Okay, nahi hai, so I'm going to stop the recording first and we have to finish our class.